Hey y'all, this is Lisa here from My Copper Life, and I thought I'd just jump on here today and show y'all my face. Bear with me as I'm not typically an upfront type of person and generally just enjoy staying behind the scenes. So, as some of you may know from my community post this last week here on YouTube, that I have an elbow injury. I've been dealing with this injury for about a year and a half now, and it started with just some minor joint pain, which honestly is something I typically deal with in my chronic health issues. So I just dealt with it and ignored it. After about 6 months of worsening discomfort, I shared my dilemma with my primary healthcare provider at my yearly checkup, and she suggested I see an orthopedic doctor. Upon seeing the specialist, he diagnosed me with tennis elbow and gave me a steroid injection. And I went about my daily routine as usual. And about a month later, the discomfort returned. And since I knew I could not get another injection until 3 months had passed since the last one, I just toughed it out and then returned after 5 months for a recheck. At that time, my doctor was questioning whether or not I was a good candidate for these steroid injections. But in the end, he decided to give it another try since a lot of people, a second injection usually worked. Well, this time the pain never really went away, and 3 weeks later, the pain was more significant. Again, I waited with all of life things that were going on at the time and thinking, what was he going to do anyhow? Because after all, it's just tennis elbow, and these things sometimes take time to heal, right? Well, December hit, and the pain was beginning to affect most of my daily activities. I was dropping things, feeling sharp pain down and up my arm upon lifting or twisting my arm and wrist. I just kept pushing through. And finally, I gave in and scheduled another appointment. This is where he recommended an MRI, and that is when I found out that this was more than just some inflammation. I have a high-grade, near-complete tear of my common extensor tendon and another smaller tear of a ligament, some tendinosis of the biceps, and tendinosis is a chronic long-term tendon injury where the collagen fibers break down from overuse, leading to degeneration, weakness, and stiffness rather than inflammation, which is tendinitis. And I also have some loss of collagen in my elbow, but that's normal for my age. After talking extensively with my doctor, I'm going to have surgery to fix these tears. Until then, I can't do anything that causes any pain, any twisting of my arm or wrist, or lifting anything. This is where I am currently. Obviously, this has put a temporary stop on my work until I get this fixed and back up running again. This is why I'm jumping on here today to give you this life update and let y'all know that I'm forced to take a bit of a break, but don't worry, I will be back. I'll try to continue post some updates along the way, but as far as tutorials right now, I'm not able to do those. While I'm down for the count, feel free to go back and watch any videos that you may have missed. And to help me out, you can share my videos to others, at least until I can get back on and doing what I love to do, and that is sharing this talent and creativity that I've been bestowed, so that you in turn can be creative as well. I did not want to just get on here and share my sob story with you, but I wanted to give you something fun to watch. Today I'm going to show you my extremely humble studio and walk you through how I organize everything. I don't have a lot and I have a shared small space, but I wanted to show you that size or the amount of cool stuff you might have does not matter. It's about using your talents, your creativity, and sharing it with others. I enjoy what I do. So without further ado, let's get started on this video.
My copper life, my copper dream, shaping the world with a copper gleam. Bend it, twist it from the heart, every creation a piece of art.
Welcome y'all to my humble little studio. As we walk in here, you're going to see the majority of my studio already. So I have this little green chair here. It's where my husband hangs out. And then straight ahead, I've got all my tools, my desk. In the corner is my daughter's desk with her current creation. She's an artist herself. So as you can see, she pretty much runs like an artist with her fun stuff everywhere. And then next to that is our TV and the printing station and some storage. And then coming around the corner here is my little displays and stuff, and then back over here to this corner where we started. So let's get into a little bit more detail of everything here. So first I'm going to start with my cubbies. On the very left, I've got my bench blocks and some copper leaf, some various beads, paintbrushes, and some tags for my jewelry. In the middle, I have some resin colorants, and back behind that is some scrap wire that I keep handy. And then on the far right-hand side, I have alcohol and dyes and butane for my torch. And on the very top, far left-hand side, are my packing supplies or shipping supplies. In the middle is actually a basket that's been there for a very long time of hair products for my kids when they were younger, and I just never moved it out. And then I have my flux for my soldering stuff, and then some pieces of art from my daughter that I get to enjoy in my studio. Next, down below that, I have some baby wipes and my polishing wheel there, and then some files and drill bits, and my jeweler saw and ring sizers that are all hanging up on hooks under my cubbies. And then I also have some UV resin, my safety goggles, and a little kit for my bottle stoppers there on the left of the speaker. And then here I have a nice little jewelry case that I have that was given to me by my mother-in-law, and I keep a lot of my little bits and pieces in here. So I've got a lot of my jewelry findings in this first drawer, some more of the same in the second drawer, and some beads and more findings in here. And then the next drawer, I have some various color wire. So red, green, silver, gold, and copper all mixed in there. And then this is my copper drawer. It's all copper wire, copper tape. My lower drawer is my silver drawer with one random copper thrown in there. And this very bottom drawer down here, get up a little bit closer for y'all, is some of my extra pieces of jewelry for my shows and such down in there. And then under the bottom here, I keep my silicone rubber, some cork for the bottoms of my coasters, some epoxy resin, and a couple of miscellaneous boxes down there. This is where I keep my drill right next to the computer there. And there's paper towels up above. And then coming around on this side under my desk, I've got a basket full of bags with various beads. This is my current storage situation for beads. I also have a box up here that's been cut down that I use to cover my resin projects with. And inside that box is my leveling table for resin projects. Also, there is a case for my Dremel down under here. I also have a light underneath this table so I can see things down under here clearly. And then up on top of the table is my computer station. And my husband and I share this, so I have a Mac and he has a Windows PC, so we each have our own computer there. And this is my worktop. This is a desk that we found at a garage sale for $10. It needs to be refinished, and I plan on doing that eventually. At the moment, it's just working just fine the way it is. In this top left-hand drawer, I have all my UV resin items that I use and some other miscellaneous things. So I've got my stir sticks in here. I have some brushes for mica powder, some silicone cups, my thermometer and butane lighter, and a UV lamp, some of my Sharpies. And in the second drawer, I have all my polishing things. So for my polishing wheel, this is all of my polishing compounds in here, some sandpaper, the polishing wheel brush cleaner thing, my Renaissance wax, some gloves and polishing cloth, and the grinding wheel. In the next drawer, this is kind of a miscellaneous hodgepodge. I have quite a few items that I use in my shows that I do, my events, so lights and such, bags. And then this is my little Dremel kit and a lot of my Dremel bits and bobs down here, along with some vinyl gloves and compressed air machine thingy there in this bottom drawer. And then in this top middle drawer, I have quite a few things. So let me get situated here. I've got a container that I have a lot of bits and bobs in. So lots of little things like some small beads, some findings, and just a lot of miscellaneous things I don't know where else to put. I also have an empty container for projects. This one has some copper wire ear wires in there. I just keep those in here for quick projects. I also have my pens and pencils and some pencil lead, some more beads, Q-tips, some paint markers, and then my stir sticks, extras if I need them for any reason. I also keep my measuring tools in here. I have 3 different sizes of rulers, just makes it easier for different projects. And I have them both in inches and centimeters. And then just some other little things up in here that are just kind of kept back in there. And then my top right drawer, I have most of my office supplies, paper punch, hole punch, 3-hole punch, my stapler, stapler remover, tapes, glues, and some toothpicks. The next drawer has some more resin things. I've got some chrome powder, some chameleon powder. I've got these lids that go on my UV resin, which I haven't opened all of these yet. So these are by Let's Resin, not sponsored. And there, down under there is some intense chameleon powder, which I love. This 5-minute epoxy. My ring mandrel is kept right in here. And I also have some polymer clay and my E6000. We all need the E6000 for our jewelry projects. And then in the very bottom drawer, I have some more UV lamps. And these are the double-sided ones, which are really nice for UV projects when you want to cure both sides at once. So that's these 2 sets here. And I have a heat gun and some resin tape. And then I've got the silicone tips here. I've got an extra one in case that one's bad. And then I have a couple shelves that go to the UV lamp. I have some extra UV resin underneath here. And then I have my shells and pearls for my ocean coasters and pendants and all the different things I make with those, and some pipettes underneath there. So this is mostly my resin drawer. And there you can see this is a work in progress desk. And then over here we've got our printing station, and underneath there's some storage. So some of these bins are family storage, others are for my jewelry. So in here I've got extra spare wire that I've cut off from the years, and I just keep it. I don't want to get rid of it. This is our family storage area. This is also another family storage of different things from our family. Over here in this top right-hand drawer is my oxidizing cubby. So all the things I need for oxidizing copper or silver are in here, my mask. And then I have like a little bin back in here that I store all of my little oxidation stuff into. It makes it easy to carry in and out of this room as needed. The bottom right cubby Has some packing supplies for when I'm either shipping jewelry out or if I'm doing my shows, I can use little bags to put the jewelry in to give to my clients. And then next we have this little section over here. I've got my little tower, or I call my tower, that has a lot of different fun ornaments and keychains on. And this is a keychain that I have. I also have these ornaments that did so well this Christmas. I just have a few or a very small amount of each of these left that I'll probably end up selling next Christmas as well. I've got bookmarks in all different colors. These are like binding bookmarks. And then down here, there's a few more smaller Christmas ornaments. And then I've got my resin keychains. This one has dried flowers in it. This one's my loved keychain with copper wire. And then back over here behind there is my earring tower. And then I've got my little bracelet stand for some of my bracelets. And this was the last set of my coasters. I made 15 sets of coasters and I have one set left. There I've got some garden stakes, my epoxy resin station. I've got some few bottle stoppers left and some soap dishes that I've made. And then in the frame is my business card QR code. So you can always pause this video and scan that code and it'll take you to my business card if you'd like. Then underneath here, I've got some copy paper, my mailing labels, and also this handmade photo box. I made this like 2 or 3 years ago and it works great. It was very inexpensive to make and much cheaper than what I could buy out there. I also have some spray paint, some urethane back here. And over here are my drawing things. I love to draw. Charcoal and graphite are my favorite media. And then some plastic cups down here for my resin when I'm mixing resin. And then I have all my silicone molds in this bin over here. And then way over to the right on the very bottom are some bead trays that I keep some beads in. And then some extra bins here. And in that top bin are some of my grooming supplies for my dog. Don't judge me here. We just use whatever space we can in this family. And then back to my husband's little spot here, his chair. And then there's a basket behind there with some remotes and charging cords for when he's in here. And down below are my extra bottle stoppers. And then here I've got all my tools, some magnets that I've made. And then up above is where I keep most of all the jewelry pieces I've made that I'm going to sell in my shows. And this pegboard we actually found on the side of the road to be thrown away. So my husband and I grabbed that up and then I painted it, bought some trim, and we put the trim around the entire thing and then stuck some furring boards behind it to hang it on. And this just makes a great piece to hang a bunch of stuff on. So that way the jewelry just doesn't get lost or tangled. It's just there to display and my friends can come over and check it all out. And then now back behind here, I've got my debubbling machine for my resin and my mail scale. And then here is my light for my workstation. And our beautiful office chair. Again, no judging here. This is what we have and it works. And this is where y'all see me do my work. All the tutorials are done here. So up above, this is my phone and I just take this and put it on top of the light like this with the camera facing down. And then record right under this light. And this is my recording studio. Kind of crazy. Very basic, but it works. And I haven't had a problem with it. So this is where the magic happens. So this is my studio. I hope y'all enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed kind of seeing how I set things up, and that you don't have to have a lot. You don't have to have a big space to create and be creative. So just have fun no matter what. If it's a kitchen table, if it's a studio, wherever you are, you can be creative. Thank you guys for joining me in my studio today, and I really hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments below if you did, what you liked, what you didn't like, and if you would change anything. Hey, I would take any type of ideas. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate you coming along on a tour of my studio. And hopefully, I will be seeing you soon again and get back on the road to recovery and be back to making tutorials for all of you guys so we can all be creative together. Y'all have a great week and Happy New Year to each and every one of you.
My